Hello, everybody. Welcome to OpenCV weekly webinar. And today we have with us Gianpaolo and Gianluca, who are one of the 50 finalists in OpenCV Spatial AI competition for 2022. Welcome, both of you. I would like you to introduce yourself in really short introduction. And after that, we will go into the presentation. But before actually we go with your introduction, I would also like to introduce Phil. Phil is the content manager at OpenCV. Hi, Phil.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome again to OpenCV Weekly Webinar. This is episode 49, if you can believe that. It is I, once again, the co-host with the co-most, the second banana who is second to none, the next best thing, Phil Nelson. I am here to remind you about some things we do on OpenCV Weekly Webinar every single week. One of those things is a trivia giveaway that we give something to you in the Zoom audience, so stay tuned for that later in the show. On this episode, we'll be giving away $200 of Microsoft Azure credits on blazing fast Intel hardware, thanks to our sponsors. We'll also be doing questions and answers from you in the audience. Please use the Zoom Q&A button to ask your question at any time during the show, and we'll do our best to answer them as time permits.
Do you want to start, Gianpaolo?
Yes. Hi, my name is Gianpaolo, and Gianluca is here with me with the third of the team, the B-Arol-o team. And for the introduction, I will use the first slide in my slide set, so I will spend less time in talking and leaving the meat for the rest of the slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I apologize, they are not yet public, but they will be published in a matter of days. And so you can review and also click on the links that I am showing as we speak. So first thing first, let's introduce ourselves. As I said, my name is Gianpaolo. Gianluca is also there. Say hello.
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 Welcome.
And I will also represent, or Gianluca will also represent Alessandro, the third of us, that was not able to join because I will spoil the next slides, but we are three colleagues. I am currently sick at home, so I have more time for the others. Gianluca is just left earlier, but Alessandro couldn't meet, so he will be represented by us. But if you want to talk to us, go to the link here on LinkedIn, or just follow us on GitHub, or use Twitter. Is the B-Arol-o team is the team handle. We are both based in Italy, but again, I'm not spoiling the next slides. So first is why B-Arol-o? Why do we call B-Arol-o? And as in best open source, there are three reasons. So when we submitted for the first phase of the contest, we were asked to have a name for the team and a name for the project. So we started with the project name, which was easy, Arnaise, I will explain next. And we need to find a name for the team. But we have no team, we are colleagues and we are friends. And this is a personal hobby project. So we have a full-time job, and apologize, but we can only spend the nights and the weekends on this project so far. But embedding the name, you can find the name of a company, which is a leading Italian company in the packaging machinery. So probably we took the idea of the project because we are doing that every day, but we wanted to do for fun.
But of course, you cannot name the company.
No, because I put the handle, so you can check if you want to know. And maybe they will appreciate our advertisement, but this came for free. So we were not paid for the company to do the job.
It's not super hard to guess, folks.
This is a trivia. We can put some hours for, okay, choose as you like. We are based in Piedmont, and Piedmont is famous for mechanical industry, including the one where we are employed, but also for vineyards, wine and spirits. Go on Wikipedia if you don't know or you don't believe. But probably you have already heard about B-Arol-o without the dashes, because this is one of the most expensive red wines, at least in Piemonte, which is grown very close to where we speak. And this is known all over the world. There are options to pay the few bottles that are sold every year. So like Chianti, probably it's more famous all over the world, but B-Arol-o, I would say it's even better. But
I feel like in the US, we mostly do that with beers. There's like the fancy
exactly.
short run produced, independently made beers that people wait in line all week for and stuff like that, like a movie premiere.
Exactly. And B-Arol-o is more difficult to make because you cannot use only water. There is some more effort. But just to make the story short, we choose an iconic name for the team, which embeds our Italian origins and company again, and our industry experience. And that's it. So there are
beautiful name.
Not one single reason. And also because we like the mixture between Arneis, which is a white wine, and B-Arol-o, which is a red wine, like a yin and yang, we said. I don't know if it's just coincidental or by purpose. I don't know. So why the name Arneis then? Because there are, again, three reasons, or we found three reasons. The first is, I already mentioned, this is a variety of wine grapes harvested in Piedmont. Probably not as famous as B-Arol-o, but I personally like it even more. And it's a counterpart of B-Arol-o, as I mentioned. Arneis in Piemontese, the link here is on Piedmont Wikipedia. You cannot believe there is a Wikipedia for our dialect. And you find the definition of Arneis, which means tool. And this is probably really true, because we want to use this project as a tool, as a way for us to learn, to probably understand better new technology, like all related to AI and OCE in particular. And this is what we as engineers, we want to do, and get more tools in our toolset. And of course, this is because it's a wonderful acronym. I will explain later, because honestly, I don't remember on top of my head. But this is an acronym of automated whatever. I will check on the next slides.
I can help you with that. Automated
thank you, Gianluca. You are the person who is doing the job, I told you.
Automated
which is the right answer? Again,
NATO.
pick the one you like most. And we are fine with any. Okay, so what exactly is Arneis after such a long introduction? Someone will probably start to answer or wonder what are we going to do. The one who read our phase one proposal already knew, and the other is probably the right time to understand. So I make a very complex slide to suggest this link, which I invite any of you to copy and paste on the chat, probably, and link and click, because I'm not.
I'll go ahead and drop this. I'll drop the link in there for you.
Excuse me?
I'll drop the link in there for you in the chat.
Oh, thank you. So in the meanwhile, I am just opening, and if the site is still on, yes, it is. Welcome to the Arneis project. So you will, in one click, discover the logo. We have a very wonderful, beautiful Arneis logo made by one of our contributors. It's not from B-Arol-o. It came from external contributors as a pull request on a GitHub project I will show later on. And especially important for the definition of the third definition of Arneis, which was the one I missed. So the official name is Automated Recognizer Network-Enabled Item Sorter. So now probably everybody understands quite well what we are going to do.
It's one of those acronyms where you clearly know that the acronym was selected first. And
exactly. Yes, yes.
Exactly.
And
just a little bit of backfilling there. Don't give away. A good magician never reveals his secrets, Satya.
Right. So I have this. Some good examples of this was this computer by Steve Jobs was leading this project called Lisa. It was a very high-end computer, and I don't even remember the name of what they came up with, Lisa, right? And the real reason actually was that Lisa
It was
was
his
Steve Jobs'
illegitimate daughter. Yeah.
illegitimate daughter,
Yeah.
he would not even admit that she was his daughter, but he would, it's one of those things.
Apparently in later years that improved, which is
Yeah,
good.
no, now she was part of his family later in life, but at that point. Another great example, which I cannot remember the exact acronym. One of my labs, they came up with an acronym which was not even the first letters of the of the acronym. They picked from in between the words.
They love doing that in like government and military stuff, where it'll be like the third letter. It's like, come on.
Right. All right. I'll let you continue with the presentation.
It's a
Yeah, no,
PHP
but,
is one of those famous recursive acronyms. PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor.
Yes. So, I mean, the three of us are really fond of open source. And by the way, I didn't mention yet, this is a completely open source project. And all the content I'm showing from now on is under MIT license, including source code, the text for this website, whatever we are delivering will be there for forever. And it's up to you to use and hopefully contribute back. And this is our expectation and the real reason why we are here instead of writing code today. But in a nutshell, what we will try to achieve is to put in scale a packaging machine. And this is why we don't mention that the company we are working for, because we don't want to steal trade secret. And we didn't steal any trade secret, but we I'm saying we know the requirements. So of course, none of our real machines are made of Lego yet, but probably the OCD light or some cameras like we are using, we have some old generation we are already using in production, and we are doing part of the use cases we are experimenting here. But here we are trying to raise the bar, and we will see whether it's applicable or not. But this is done for fun, and hopefully this will become a real work later on, depending on our result, depending on our contribution and also our support. We received a lot of support from all the team, Satya, Phil, and also Luxonis. But of course, the journey is quite long to make a product. And the time is really short to make the contest. So we have to split our brains. For the moment, let's look at the contest. But at least the project I will show later is for a real product. So I don't click on this link. Gianluca will go in deep. But this is a take from a CAD drawing that Alessandro has prepared that show exactly how to build the packaging machine we have in mind. So in summary, we are using the OctiLight that we've been given. A lot of Lego Technic parts that we had some trouble in finding them. Phil knows very well, but now we have, and this machine is operational and we will show. And there are plenty of open source software that is already in GitHub. So here you have all the links to look more. And here is some kind of a navigation bar where you can find the specification, the architecture, the software architecture, and some how-to that we use to build the product, the device. So my time is over, so I will not click here. You can do directly, or maybe we can look at during the question and answer if you have a particular interest in any of what is written at the moment. Okay?
That's great. So Gianluca, you're going to take over now?
Yes, the only thing I want to mention is the plan. So as I mentioned, this is run as a real software design project. So we have weekly sprints, not quarterly because time is short. And we are completing the calendar week 11. And by the calendar week 13, we will submit the result. But as you say, there are already, as you see, there are already sprints planned and many things to do. So this is part of the contribution we are soliciting, and maybe bug will arise. So if you use the project, please open issues or suggest features, and we will try to accomplish and put in our plan. And of course, depending on who is doing the job, the things will proceed or not, as in all open source projects. So this is the end of my part, which was easy. Now I leave Gianluca for the rest of the presentation. I'm just trying to disconnect, and you can share your slides.
Okay.
Very professional GitHub issue tracking there.
It's for me because I'm getting old. I'm the older in the team, but I'm still playing Legos.
Oh,
Yeah, I love that shirt. Big fan of Queen. Grew up listening to their records.
Yeah, I learned from my kids.
Just in case people did not see that, it says, I want to break brick free.
Yeah.
Lego Freddie Mercury.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we sure can.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gianluca.
So thank you, Gianpaolo. Firstly, even if I repeat myself, as Gianpaolo already mentioned, I would like to thank personally everyone at Luxonis and RoboFlow. They've been helping us in any way they can, and with the training, with the labeling of the images. They've been a very help. And so
two companies with extremely great customer support. Big shout out to both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to understand where we are right now, we have to talk about the road we leave behind as we move forward. Today, I'm going to talk about two main topics in our project development. The first one is the mechanical design using Legos. And the second part is about the machine learning software implementation. I'm going to help myself with a video we made. Sorry for the presentation. We had a little short time to doing it, so bear with us. This is the history about our Lego development, the mechanical part. Since we didn't have the Lego set yet, all we could do was try to think outside of the box and try to imagine how the components could fit in reality, drawing everything, every piece in LDRAW. We started thinking about how to handle bottles and moving conveyor and how to better do it. After that, we added yes?
One quick, sorry for the interruption.
No problem.
You know, so the audience may still be confused what the project does, right?
Okay.
So in a few sentences, if you could explain what the goal of the project is, and then we will be able to understand these much better, right? So,
okay.
You know, what is the final output that we want to achieve?
We want to recognize minion bottles that move on a conveyor to be able to identify and select some of the bottles present on the conveyor and create a sales packaging. So if you want to order a bottle or 3 bottles in our case for grandma at home, you just open the app and select the 3 bottles, and the system will see which bottles he has running on the conveyor, pick the 3 that you want, put that in a packaging, and help the sales project.
Okay, that's great. So like suppose it's an online gift site, for example, and they order 3, and you have the option of selecting specific bottles, right? It's not like everybody gets the same package. So out of, let's say, 10 different bottles, you have to select 3, and your system is going to recognize the different wines and pick the right ones from the conveyor belt, put it in a package, and you know, ship it to the client.
Yeah, for now we are starting with 5 bottles, and the package should have 3. Of course, the system will improve over time.
Sure.
And just to add on that, currently the current packaging systems are doing the same, but they need to classify the packages, the items in advance. So maybe they are coming from a lot, from a batch or whatever. In this example, we want to stress the computer vision to try to identify the component while the system is running, and also learn by experience. So if there are some mistakes at the beginning, you can take a snapshot, you can put on the cloud, you can reinforce the learning, so on. So it's to remove one problem of the current packaging system that have pre-trained in advance on the packages they have to sort or needing to put a label or whatever. In
Right.
our case, we don't have any barcodes, just to tell the example, because they are all the samples. They have no barcodes because they were not done before.
Right.
So sooner or later, we will be acquired by Amazon, then we become millionaires. But this is exactly the problem they have to solve every day.
Right.
Amazon would just end up paying somebody to slap a barcode on there.
No.
already
You would be
did.
surprised how much automation is in these warehouses. It's mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one of the big adopters of the autonomous robot tech is these giganto warehouses from Amazon and Target and Walmart and whatnot.
Yeah, but anyway, the problem to solve is to avoid improve the automation by removing the effort to prepare for the automation. Like in this case, in our bottling machines, we are asked to change the bottle we want to close for the same reason. We need to do some training, which is really expensive and takes time.
Yeah.
I will continue with the video.
Yes.
So this is the first realization of the first design. Then we added the motors with the help of gearing. Once we had the Legos, we could start finally the building process and testing of the movements. We decided of a part of a conveyor where we wanted the oak delight to be. So we wanted that to look at a specific layout of a specific part without the landscape behind. So L-Draw helps with the animation, of course. So this is not made by us, and also help with the manual instructions. So if you are into that, please use it. It's very friendly and easy to use. Every step came with a bit of testing and new ideas on how to improve the design. I'm going to leave it at that a bit. This is a part of the conveyor. This is, okay, stop it. Okay, no, okay. Ideally, the oak delight will look at this part here, exactly where you should see my mouse. You will see that later. We even tried the demo AI software coming from Luxonics, of course. And here you can see that.
That's great. Is that running? I think it was running YOLO probably.
No, I think the basic mobile net.
Mobile net, right?
Yeah, the standard, the first network that you see when you start the demo software.
Running just depthai.py.
Yeah. So something was finally moving, even dropping. At the same time, we started to imagine where we could position the oak delight and fit it with the other Lego parts. And so we designed a Lego support system for the oak delight. And I'm happy to see that the community liked it very much. And someone is already using it outside of us.
Yeah, was that Zach? Was that LA Inoculum? I think Zach might be using it, one of our previous guests.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's very easy to handle in the camera. You just have one piece that handles and stops the camera from dropping out. And you have plenty of space for the USB cable. So it's very easy to build really a piece of engineering from Alessandro. So thanks to him. Then
yeah, and one important note on the back here is about you got to keep the back open there for thermal reasons. Some of the projects we saw had a closed back, and it's not good. You got to let the camera breathe a little bit.
Yeah, I realized that the first time. Then it was time to add all the pieces together to complete the conveyor.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So many people have bought, oak delights. One of the reasons for the metal case is that it's also a radiator. It actually is, it also helps cooling it down. So while using it, don't cover it completely, leave enough space so that it has enough space to cool down. And this thing can get pretty warm sometimes, and depending on what you're doing. OOCD Lite, the lighter version, because it's a small form factor, it can get warm. So keep it open when handling it.
And honestly, this is one trick we as engineers doing a real job knew very well. And that's why we started with this design. Yeah. But we did it on Lego, and usually we don't put in plastic.
Right.
So as I was saying, it was time to put all the pieces together to complete the conveyor. And here is the instruction manual rendering. The user just had to decide, after building it, of course, where the conveyor should move. It has a function that can move forward or backward. You can see that in a bit. It's a gear on top of the motors. And,
what I really like about your project is also that, we had shipping problems, and so you could not get the real components. I don't know when you received it, or you're still receiving it, parts of it, right? You still don't have all of them, but you were able to design all these things as 3D models, and that didn't stop you from making progress,
yeah.
right? That's really, really good.
Honestly, this is how Italians work.
Yeah, we see opportunity instead of problems.
Problem every day, and we're trying to be creative and solve it as we can. Nice. We are not, but we're trying to improve.
So this is a first test of running model. That's the gear that sets the moving forward or backward.
Mm-hmm. You can see you've got some nice little rails on there so the bottles don't fall out. It's solved bug number 1 already.
That's the first one, of course. We have a little bit less edgy on the next part. This is the final.
Me being the sales guys, I will say everything will be solved by the end of the contest, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
So the other thing I wanted to point out is that you guys clearly have a lot of industrial experience, mechanical design experience, etc. But you're relatively new to AI, and this is the opportunity in AI. People from other fields who may be experts in other fields, you add some expertise in AI to your work, and suddenly you reach the top, because nobody else, at least today, right? There are many fields where they don't have AI experts in-house. And so you have the opportunity as an expert in some other field to add AI to your work. And suddenly your career path can be very, very lucrative. It could become very interesting.
This is the part that our boss will not like, but this is exactly why we spend our nights and weekends, because we believe that.
I'd like also to point out that none of us is a mechanical engineer. So we are 2 automation engineer and the software engineer. So the mechanical is just a piece of genius.
But we are talking with real mechanical engineers every day. That's why we are aware of the problems, and we are trying to solve it elegantly with Legos.
Okay. So the next part. At the same time, we were working on the software. And for this, I'll take a step back. It was Christmas time, and we just learned that we would be one of the 50 teams that would compete in the OpenCV Spatial AI contest. Personally, I didn't know. Sorry, I went too far. Sorry, okay. I didn't know much about OpenCV. So the first things I did, as every new about there, I went on Google and I searched for OpenCV. The first thing that came to light in the video stubs was a link that I put there on OpenCV YouTube channel of a 3-hour course that I took all in the weekly time, all away from job. And this is the first result that I got from that using my computer camera. That is me, of course. And after that, as Alice did in Wonderland, we started to follow the white rabbit down the hall of a new exciting world. We didn't know anything about depth AI, TensorFlow, training neural network, machine learning application. It was all a new world to us. So we learned about image capture using computer camera in this case, image manipulation, object tracking, and face detection. But that was not enough. That video was not enough. We just needed a little more. Not a little, maybe something more. As soon as we received the Oak Delight, we moved down the rabbit hole, where each floor opened up new rooms of knowledge to discover and new things to learn. As I mentioned before, this is what we want to recognize. I have some sample here. I didn't drink that, not yet. We want to finish the project first.
I'm on to you. You just poured some water in there to level them up. I was a teenager once.
I only drink water. So we started using the camera with the Depth AI library and successfully ran the demo software as you could see before. Then we tried to create a basic software that could potentially identify our minion bottles with a correct trained network. To do that, you have to collect images. That's why I have the samples. Label those images, and then we developed a basic function that could automatically save the correlated image with the correlated XML file, stating where the recognized bottle was. But for now, we are using RoboFlow. It helps us with enlarging the data set, which I will explain a little bit later.
Yeah, so that's another point I wanted to also make. By the way, RoboFlow is a silver member of OpenCV, and they have helped our community a lot. So we really like RoboFlow. When you're starting out, when you're new to any field, it makes sense to first approach when you don't even know whether you would like the field or not, right? So you can approach the field as a technician, not as a student, right? A technician's approach is that you learn the tools. You learn the tools, get the job done, right? That is a perfectly fine first approach that, okay, I don't understand all the components of this pipeline, but I'm going to use all these tools without understanding what's going inside, but I'll get some result. And that result can be so motivating that you are encouraged then to go, you're going to check out how exactly is this thing working, right? For those tasks, right, when you want to get something quickly done, especially like project like this, where you did not have experience in AI before, tools like RoboFlow can really help because they give you the pipeline. There are several tutorials you can follow. And if you just follow the instructions, you will get an output that works, right? And that's a great starting point, especially with this kind of, very hard deadline, with contests and other things. But RoboFlow is also used in general by, even Fortune 500 companies. So it's a good tool. And if you need to know the details, you can take courses, understand various aspects of how things work, right?
And if you want to try out RoboFlow, you can go to roboflow.com/OpenCV.
Yeah, thanks.
After all those magic steps, and believe me, not so easy steps, you can finally use OpenVINO to convert the trained frozen model and obtain a blob file to run inside the Oak Delight.
The OpenVINO step is very important for performance and many other reasons. Another one of our good friends.
Right. OpenVINO, without using OpenVINO step, you cannot run on Oak Delight. But OpenVINO is also useful for running it on your own CPUs. Let's say you have an Intel CPU and you want to make it very fast. I have done it several times in our projects where we get 2x, 3x speed up for free by just using OpenVINO. And the accuracy decreases very marginally, if any, right? So something to consider when you're deploying on CPUs, especially, which, by the way, for deployment, CPUs, VPUs, etc., are used a lot. GPUs are so expensive. GPU instances are so expensive that a lot of computer vision is actually deployed on CPUs. And for that, definitely use OpenVINO.
Every step that we took involved testing. So here is the first test without a conveyor, of course, and just trying what what we have trained, and to see the results. And of course, I'm not gonna spoil. The first two almost recognized, and the third one has some problem involved in the identification. So the model needed more experience, of course.
Yeah, or we just break the bottle and we don't have the sample any longer. This is what in a real project we will do, not in the contest here, right?
So we trained again the model with a different set, with a different position of the images, different illumination. We even bought an illumination system. And this was a little bit better than the previous one. We even added some picture that had an obstacle in front of it, so that the training will be a little bit more solid. And even if the light was the same from the one that we used to took the picture, like in this case, just a couple of different centimeters of difference from the picture to the real case was enough to not see the same bottles and recognize it. So the major issues to complete the project are three. There is not a data set of images of those minion bottles. So every image used for training purpose has to be taken manually.
Can I suggest something?
Yes, please do.
So because you guys are so good at 3D, right, rendering, so what you could do is actually create a 3D data set, because these bottles are very easy to model, right? It's a very standard bottle, right? And the label, you already have the label, so you can create a synthetic data set very quickly, and then you put it in whatever environment you want, whatever orientation you want. You can generate millions of images. After
there's tons of free super high resolution environments as well, indoors, outdoors, different lighting, stuff like that. Yeah, you could just drop it into like Blender, I feel like.
Yeah, I think especially because
yes, please.
Especially because you know how to do this for you, and the number of classes is relatively small, right? You are using right now, at least for this competition, you're using five different bottles. You will nail it, right? Even with synthetic data. And it's good that you have collected some real data also. But even with synthetic data, if the simulation is reasonably close, you will nail it, right? Like almost 100% accuracy.
Yeah, another thing that we are considering but did not implement is maybe using more than one OptiLight and with some kind of panoramic images or around bottle. But there are mechanical reasons why we couldn't do that on the Lego design. But it was one thing we consider maybe in the perspective of a real conveyor, to maybe have more than one camera and do some kind of stitching of more pictures to have the panoramic image. Because again, the label is good, but sometimes the label is on the other side.
Right.
So the other things to consider was identify the current network to use. We have chosen one, which is the mobile net V2, but we are also considering YOLO and we have 3 more, but just for this is still hard enough. So we are
Can I
moving.
suggest one more thing?
Yeah, everything. You can write me an email. I would like it.
So don't
We are
spend
here
any
for that.
time. Don't spend any time on choosing the model. Don't. MobileNet is perfectly fine. This is a relatively simple problem, right? And so a lot of people. I mean, Phil, if you can find that video, Dr. Andrew Ng has a video on data-centric AI, where he says
Yes,
that
I'll
people
find
spend
that
a lot
for
of
you.
time on selecting the model. It makes no difference, right? And the reason is that these networks are powerful enough. They're very powerful. They can learn a lot, right? So it's not the choice of network usually that makes the difference. It is the data set that will make a difference. And he gave several examples where you could spend months trying to use a different model, doing this, doing that. Nothing will work, right? But if you create the right data set, any standard model, you have chosen MobileNet, perfectly fine. You choose. So these networks they have a huge learning capacity, right? The only thing you may want to do is, does it overfit your data, right? If you let it, will it overfit your data, right? And that's a small test you need to do. In your case, you don't even need to do that test. From experience, I can easily say that it's perfectly fine. Changing the model is not going to produce any benefit, right? A lot of people who are new to the field, they spend time trying to find out the right model, and that's the wrong place to spend the time. The time is to get additional data, create additional data, and create variations of data, right? So the information is in the variance of the data, right? By that I mean that let's take an extreme example, right? You're looking at let's say you're training a classifier or something like that. You're looking at an object. Even if you're looking at the same image, you collect 100 frames, it doesn't matter, right? The variance is, there's no variance in the image. What you want, a variety in your examples, right? So basically you collect the data, you can, whatever data you have, and then start seeing where the algorithm fails, right? So in certain views, the algorithm may fail. Pick those views, collect some more data with those specific views and lighting conditions, put it in the training set, right? So this way, you're not even using a lot of data. You could be using 1,000 images, but the 1,000 right kind of images, so that you have captured the variance of your data set, right? Then with a small amount of data also, you can produce very good results. So keep doing this hard negative mining, and keep putting in the data. You will see much better results without spending any time on a new architecture.
Would you also suggest that the picture that we take and for the data set not coming all from the same place? So we are using now the conveyor picture. So yeah, bottles present in every environment, in every condition, with different light, different. Okay.
Yeah, ideally that should be the case. One other trick that might work also is, but it's a little bit of work, that you can segment out the bottle, right, using Photoshop or something, and then put that in various environments. There is a slight problem though, because these bottles are transparent. So
and the lighting too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not very realistic if you just put the bottle in different environments, but it actually, the transparency, because of the transparency, you're not getting that effect. It will help a little bit, but really what I would suggest is that create 3D models for these bottles and render them in various environments, and create 10,000, 20,000 images, and you'll just nail the problem.
Thank you. So if you want to stay in touch with us, please feel free to write to us, comment or create issue on GitHub, make some pull requests, and of course, follow our roadmap on GitHub. Gianpaolo, if you want to add something.
Oh, I just forgot to mention that we usually publish a weekly blog post every Monday at the end of a sprint. I usually post and put on my Twitter, and then there is also bounced back by the B-Arol-o team Twitter feed. So if you just subscribe to B-Arol-o team, you should have one or two posts per week, not many because we are busy, but you can learn how we are proceeding. And of course, if you help us on GitHub through issues or pull requests, we will speed up even faster. And another thing we did not mention, we played the game. I mean, we were happy to be selected for phase 2, but we have no interest or objective to win the phase 2.
Oh, no. You should.
Success to be here and present to you and learn by the experience by Satya that in 10 minutes gave us the answer that we are looking for a mouse. So it was already very good. And we hope that we are doing something useful for others, like we did with the Lego design for the holder. But just pick what you find useful in GitHub, and if possible, contribute back as we are doing. I just made 10 pull requests to Luxonics only for fixing typos, because the only thing I could understand were the typos, but at least they were valuable. At least this is what Brandon told me. So I hope this was true.
But
yeah, somebody's got to fix those typos. That's a great part about open source.
And this is the only part I am able, at least in this really comprehensive knowledge base. I would find typos and use. Hopefully, we can contribute to other projects as we are doing in our everyday job, and we are not doing less in our spare time.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I really like the project that you're building, and also the fact that you guys decided to take a step, right? For a lot of people, they think that, oh, we don't know enough, we won't be able to complete this thing in 3 months. But I can guarantee, that you will learn a lot in these 3 months if you compete, than not competing, right? And then let's say, even if you don't win, right, the next time we are going to do these competitions, and there are several other competitions other people also do, you're more prepared, right? So people always think, there's this quote, I don't know who said this quote, but a lot of people said, there are many attributions to this quote, that people underestimate what they can do in a few days. People overestimate what they can do in a few days, but they underestimate what they can do in a few years, right? Because you're compounding, right? You're compounding your knowledge, and in a few years, you have so much knowledge that you can achieve a lot, right? And people, people don't realize, but on a daily basis, they would overestimate. They would say that, oh, I can do this thing in a short period of time. No, but if you look at the longer time horizon, then you're going to underestimate your capability, right? So keep compounding your knowledge and your effort. It's magical when this happens, the compounding.
I would to add to that as well. I think people also underestimate the power of having a goal, just even if it's totally arbitrary, like say, April 4th for the OpenCV Spatial AI contest. If you have something, a guiding star to head toward, it always makes the learning kind of goes more smoothly in my experience.
All right. So are we ready for the questions?
Yeah, definitely. So let's do our trivia giveaway. So here on OpenCV Weekly Webinar, we are going to give you $200 of Microsoft Azure credits on blazing fast Intel hardware, thanks to our generous sponsors at Microsoft Azure and Intel. The way this works is that I'm going to ask a trivia question to you in the Zoom audience based on the slides that Gianpaolo and Gianluca just got done presenting here. If you have won recently, please do not answer. If you haven't won recently, type your answer into the Zoom chat window as soon as you know what it is, and the first person that answers correctly will get those $200 worth of Azure credits.
By the way, this is Phil's rule. I did not create this rule. I am of the winner takes all category, but
what can I say? I'm a man of the people. I'm
And
just
Phil,
trying
I
to.
suppose I cannot answer, right?
No,
We cannot.
He didn't say, but I
putting my
assume
foot
I
down. Get ready to answer, folks. Hands on buzzers, as they would say. So earlier in the talk, Giampaolo mentioned the region in Italy that the Arnese grapes come from. What is that region?
Too easy.
See, yeah, you say that.
There are some people
Looks like,
in the...
all right, I'm going to give it to Eric, even though he fat-fingered the typing there.
Yeah.
The answer is
Giampaolo wouldn't
Piedmont.
approve.
Congratulations, Eric Finot. Please send one email to phil@opencv.org, and I will make sure that you get your $200 worth of Azure credits on blazing fast Intel hardware.
Right.
And congratulations.
Congratulations. A few more announcements. Next week, we are going to have our weekly webinar would host the OpenCV AI game show. It's going to be very interesting. Phil would be the judge, and we have a different host. We have 3 different participants. If you want to know more about the AI game show, please go to opencv.org/game show and sign up for that. Our Kickstarter campaign also ended successfully this Tuesday. Thank you so much for all the people who supported us. We raised, 204K with the help of more than 480 backers. So thank you, all the backers. It's really, it really encourages us, because this Kickstarter campaign is not just for us to raise money. The reason we do this Kickstarter campaign is also because it allows us to reduce the price. Technically we don't like reducing the price, so we need to have a very good reason to reduce the price. And for me, that is important because, I come from India, and when you do the dollar to rupee conversion, it is the courses become expensive. But hopefully with these Kickstarter campaigns, etc., we are able to get to that more affordable pricing. And the final thing is that during the Kickstarter campaign, we also did some trivia questions, and we are going to mail out the winners of that, the 3 questions. And all the people who are going to win will receive this book for free. It's Deep Learning with Python by Francois Chollet. And Francois was really kind to tweet about our Kickstarter campaign also. So thanks to Francois. Anything more, Phil, you want to add?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, please join us next week for OpenCV AI Game Show. It's going to be really fun. Super looking forward to it. We're in the process of editing right now. I'd like to give a little shout out. Happy trails, I guess. Say goodbye to the bad guy, to pro wrestler Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon, who passed away this week. I'm going to use one of his lines from his WWE Hall of Fame acceptance speech to send us off today. Hard work pays off. Dreams can come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Wow. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the webinar. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to tap the little bell icon to be notified when new episodes drop. This week's episode was brought to you by Intel and Microsoft Azure as part of OpenCV's Spatial AI contest. Follow along with the OakDLight contest hashtag. If you'd like to be in the audience next week, subscribe to the OpenCV newsletter.